Hey everyone, I'm with Dan Bazan, the writer-director of Bleak Terminus, kind of a feature film, but it's more, you kind of set up as episodic. Can you tell us about the story of Bleak Terminus?
Yeah, absolutely. Bleak Terminus, without giving too much away, is about a man who, described by the characters in the film, has been away from the crime world for some time, I'd say missing. And he's back on the path of revenge, and you start to see an older version of himself sort of unfold throughout the series, and yeah.
All right. Well, without getting into too many details, what kind of themes are you exploring within the film?
A lot of I guess a lot of the themes would definitely have to be like shame, depression, uh, um, alienation, those types of themes, and trying to sort of navigate through that those sort of feelings and emotions that come with shame and depression.
Yeah, kind of the life you lived and kind of having to own up to it, basically. And
Exactly. Yeah.
all right. So it's an indie film, I assume.
Yeah.
It has the look, and that's kind of in our wheelhouse. And I'm just really curious, what is your background? How did you get to this point? And I'll just say, when I looked at your IMDb, I noticed everything started at 2021, which is
Yeah.
pandemic times. So what is your background, and how did you get into filmmaking?
Yeah. Well, I was originally an actor for, sort of stage plays, just a few in high school. And I originally wanted to go to college for acting. But I'm going to be honest, I wasn't exactly the best student in high school. So my big plan was I was going to write a play that would basically sort of show that I can act and, get into, an acting school, which at the time I wanted to do Illinois State University. But then I think a friend of mine told me I should have done like a short film instead. And I'm like, that sounds kind of cool. And so we decided to do a short film, which ended up never getting completed just because when you create something that ambitious as a beginning, filmmaker, it doesn't end very well. Um, but I don't know. There was something else in filmmaking that I just found um, very satisfying. Just the whole process and being able to talk with other actors and sort of almost painting a picture in a way. And so I decided instead of doing acting, I would do film at Illinois State University. And so it was 2021 when I started my first year at Illinois State. And I got before it was a DSLR, and then I got into mirrorless cameras, and I just sort of, shot like just very minimal things, just sort of on the gun, kind of a point and shoot kind of deal. And my first film, which you probably saw on IMDb, was Bell Tower, and that wasn't even something I wrote. It was just something like me and a buddy of mine decided to shoot when we had to take one of our friends to the hospital to get a staple pulled out of his head. So, um, so yeah, no, it really just sparked from acting, and I kind of just fell in love with the whole process of filmmaking. And I think as a filmmaker, I kind of grew to who I am now and sort of accumulated the skills that I've gotten, and here we are.
Yeah, I mean, I've been kind of beating the drum lately of, it's the Hollywood's not the dream anymore, and that, if you want to get your stuff made, if you want to, if you want to act, if you want to write and you want to direct, you really are in a position now more than ever to do it yourself.
Yeah.
And, and my feeling is that, at least you own your stuff. You take credit for the successes and the failures, and no one can take that away from you, and
Yeah.
no one can buy you out, and it's almost not worth getting bought out, even for the high price that comes with it.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the big things, especially with the series, is that it's supposed to sort of tackle the successes and failures that you go through. I mean, like, I think it's very closely related to my last project, which didn't do so well. But
Mhm.
you sort of have to sort of, overcome those losses and just move on and roll with the punches and sort of grow and, like evolve or sprout,
Mhm.
like a flower. But yeah.
Yeah, you know, failure. No one wants to fail, but you learn a lot of lessons in failure, and you learn how. I think for me it was a lot of you learn how to work with people. You learn how people like to be treated. How to get a project rolling along as a team. Um,
Yeah.
is that kind of yeah? You talk about failure, but I'm pretty sure you probably learned a lot from it.
Oh, I mean, like, I don't think you can sort of continue in filmmaking in that sort of industry if you don't fail. Like, I feel like failure is almost like a rite of passage, um, to grow as a filmmaker. Like, I've encountered so many people who've only like ever like gotten like, just good feedback and just nothing of any sort of negative critique, and I haven't seen them grow. And so um, there's definitely sort of not enough of that.
Hmm.
Um, and I think you need that as a filmmaker to grow and evolve and become a better filmmaker. So
Yeah. Well, then I'm curious then to expand out on that. But what is your team like? What is your community like? And how have you? And I say this kind of as a learning lesson for other indie filmmakers. You got to have that team. You got to build that
yeah.
team. And not to say that you're going to give me the best advice ever, but the journey is always different. And you're going to find your team in different ways. How did you find yours?
Well, honestly, it was really through trial and error. Like I said, the first short film I ever made didn't exactly get finished. I still have like bits and pieces of scenes, and it's not very good, compared to my latest work. But um, you start to, I mean, like I said, you make mistakes, and you sometimes have to be like, the not so cool director and people who will talk behind your back and that kind of thing. And you sort of have to realize, okay, maybe like is it something that I'm doing or is it something that they're doing? And you sort of have to find like a soft medium to sort of be on the same page with your crew. And I think these past couple of projects, I've really sort of come into my own as a director, and I've figured out how to um, work with my team a lot better and sort of narrow down that circle, especially as an indie filmmaker, because it's kind of hard to find crew people, especially when you have a really small budget and you can't really
Mhm.
afford to pay them and that kind of thing. And so um, it was a lot of trial and error and a lot of getting closer and sort of being in the trenches with previous crew members. And some don't decide to continue along that path, and that's fine. But the people you do that, that's even better because it brings you closer. So
Yeah. Okay, so how did the team come together for Bleak Terminus?
yeah, so my last film, Red Under Wraps, I had a lot of crew people actually, but that was like I think one of the first times I had an overwhelmingly large amount of crew people, and I didn't necessarily know what I wanted to do with it. Like I was sort of not exactly managing all those heads very well, and so uh, my crew, I guess, numbers got like drastically reduced, and so the people who came back were just very happy to sort of get stuff on the resume.
Mhm.
And I told them like this is so it was funny. I actually told a lot of the crew people, I'm like, how would you like to work on an indie film that would like get into Netflix? It's always like
Mhm.
the thing with indie filmmakers, just super over ambitious and that kind of thing. But it was really um, just people coming back to sort of get back in that game, because once you sort of get off filmmaking for a while, you kind of have to wind up again and start getting back into the flow. And so we really just wanted to get back into filmmaking as soon as possible. And the people who decided to show up were just as ready as I was. So
Mhm. And in terms of now you have a crew. What was it like then getting the pieces in place to finally shoot Bleak Terminus? You have the script,
yeah,
and there's that giant gap between the script and
absolutely.
the shooting.
Yeah.
Where are you in? you know, in your indie journey that to where that you produced that, put that together?
It was pretty rough, you know, especially with this one, because my last project, it was basically all film students, whereas with this one, like a lot of them had already graduated, and there are, because I'm in like central Illinois right now, so like everyone's in Chicago and they have to commute, and it was like such a big hassle. But um, it was a lot of just like, you know, okay, like what days are you off for work, and like, you know, what days can we like call off, like, you know, weeks in advance and that kind of thing. And so we really had to be like especially like prepared for
Mhm.
scheduling these shoots. And some of the times, like I remember, like especially for um the scenes with like Ashish and like the actors, like there are some scenes in like particular parts where like it was just me and the actor,
Mhm.
and like we just couldn't get like the crew people for it. And I think I'd say about maybe like 70% of Bleak Terminus was just me. So it was like super yeah, super meticulous
Yeah.
in preparation and that kind of thing. So
Yeah, I mean, part of it is the script. It's broken down into chapters,
yeah.
and you know, and that allows you to take a segment and say, all right, we can go bare bones with this one, and you know, and it was, you know, was that in mind when you wrote the script in terms of, yeah, I'm gonna have a hard time pulling people together all the time?
Yeah, like I mean, it was kind of expected, you know, especially knowing that a lot of the crew people were sort of moving on to other places, you know,
Mhm.
in the world. And uh, it was just something I had to, you know, be prepared for. And you know, I definitely think, especially from Red Under Wraps, I learned so much to just be ready for, like, if someone's like, you know, like in LA and they end up having to, you know, be part of the Blue Man Group. And then like, you know, like it's super hard to schedule when they're on tour in Las Vegas. And you know, you really have to sort of navigate around their schedule, because I'm gonna be honest, Blue Man Group is definitely more important than Bleak Terminus. So, you know,
I'm guessing it pays more.
yeah, definitely. I definitely think you'd live comfortably as a Blue Man, especially as a an actor and crew person. But
Yeah.
yes, it was something that I like had to be like extra careful about. Which, like I said, I got a ton of experience from that with my last project. So
Yeah. Yeah, planning is everything. And planning also, you plan well, especially in the draft process, and it makes
yeah,
piecing pieces together a lot easier.
absolutely. And and it's funny because I was trying out a different I guess directing move, like from a director's
Mhm.
standpoint with actors. No one got the like entire script. Like it wasn't like a combined collective of like scripts. It was all separate scripts for each
Yeah.
episode. And none of the actors got like the entire thing. It was all like just based on like, okay, this is what your character is going to sort of react to. And they luckily they were uh very grateful for that, because
Mhm.
it was almost like a very natural thing for the actors to sort of react and kind of wonder what the story actually is. And so I'm really excited for everyone to see it.
All right, so we can kind of end with this. You know, you have a friend who's wanting to do what you're doing, make a movie, and what piece of advice would you give them based on what you learned or did with Bleak Terminus?
You know, don't be afraid to fail. I know that's easier said than done, but you really can't, like if you want to make it in filmmaking, and not just like Hollywood, but I mean just in general,
Mhm.
like you need to understand that like there are going to be like highs and lows, you know, and it really is a roller coaster. And the sooner you accept the fact that like, okay, maybe not, you know, you're not going to be like Tarantino, or you're not going to be the next Clerks like
Mhm.
instantly. Like it takes time to sort of master your craft, especially as a young person, because you don't exactly have the same experiences as someone, you know, say Tarantino, who was like in his 30s, or when he did, you know, Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs. And so it takes time to get better at what you do. And it really is just the journey and not the destination. So
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing I can encourage you with is I know filmmakers. I have a friend who basically the film he currently shoots, he hopes that it pays for the next film he shoots.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
what he's done along the way is he's built an audience. And so with every
yeah,
film, if he happens to travel to a festival or do screenings, he'll collect email addresses.
yeah.
He'll collect, basically build a fan base, and then with the next film he can get the word out, and that usually is enough to get the next one made, and buy more equipment. That's the other thing is
Yeah.
he's his own production company, so he's got all the equipment, and he's just finding creative ways to get crew, build crew, and
I always say if you can't find a way, make one. Because I
Mhm.
mean, like that's really the best advice I can give. And I also do like to collect my own things because I'm very nitpicky and like very focused on exactly what I want, like for a shot or So yes, I do respect collecting all the equipment and being your own production company because it does feel good to be in control.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely. All right. So tell us, how can we see Bleak Terminus?
Yeah, Bleak Terminus comes out September 10th on YouTube and Vimeo. We'll be submitting to film festivals. Right now, we currently have submitted to 2 film festivals, which is Blow Up Art House Film Festival in Chicago and Slam Dance. So we'll see how those go. And
well, hopefully we'll see you in LA.
yeah, I mean that's really that's the goal, is to really at least go down to LA just for like a film festival and sort of have that experience, because I've never actually been down in the West Coast, so it definitely be a treat for me.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I mean,
Yes.
Slam Dance in LA is a big deal, and I'm interested to see how what it's going to be like not being in Utah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so I'm really excited, and it's especially just because like I usually like to sort of show the audience my films before I show film festivals my films, and film festivals are very like, I'd say they have a lot of rules about not submitting like online first, which is like I kind of get a little like about, but so we'll have to be very conservative with who we submit to for this show. So
absolutely. All right. Well, thank you, Dan. I appreciate
yeah.
you talking with me, and good luck to you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.